Now, once upon a time in professional wrestling, it used to matter what the fans thought.
For example, all you parents out there with kids, when your kids misbehave, you give the New Day a call. The New Day comes over to your house, and we will fight your children.
Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of wrestling sucks, but when it's good, it's fucking great. Wrestling is melodrama. Wrestling is mythology. Wrestling is action. Wrestling is comic books. The only thing wrestling isn't is wrestling.
Who wants to take back professional wrestling?
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode 100. We are in triple digits. Can you believe it? I'm actually amazed that we've gone this far. I am one half of your host, Silky Dave Brown, and back with us from his sweet birthday vacay down in one of the worst cities for WWE on television, Corpus Christi, Texas, is our Floyd and Savior, Floyd Johnson Jr. How you doing this morning, sir?
I am doing well. I had a very relaxing birthday. We were actually in we went to South Padre Island for the actual birthday. We stopped through Corpus Christi because, like I said in the club, it gave a lot of memories of WCW's past. Because I remember Corpus Christi was always a stop in Texas that they used to make. But yeah, I spent the day on the beach in South Padre Island with my beautiful girlfriend and her sister. I drank, I napped, I played in the water, all things that don't normally associate with me, because if anyone knows me outside of this, I hate outside. So that was actually pretty fun. It was something different, something I've truly never done for my birthday before. I definitely appreciate the experience. It was my girlfriend's idea, and you know what? Sometimes you just gotta let other people do the thinking for you.
Ain't that the truth, man? You gotta sometimes let other people take care of business for you and figure stuff out. But we're glad you're back. Missed you last week. The show is just not the same without you. And and happy Father's Day to all you dads out there. It is that time of the year. But since this is episode 100, I thought we'd do a little looking back on the show. So this show originally started by my good friend Steve Long and his wife Mandy and myself. Was originally hosted over on Blog Talk Radio, and if you've ever listened to a show on Blog Talk Radio, you know it probably sounds like shit. There's something that website does. They make everything sound like AM radio. I guess it's part of their shtick, or at least they did. And it was, we sucked. I'm sure. I found that the episodes are still out there somewhere, and I'm sure they stink. So
Steve was on the show?
Steve was on the show, yep. Yeah. And the funny thing was, so this was around, I think we were doing the show in late 2013, early 2014. I was just really getting back into wrestling. And well, the show returned in this current run in 2014, and we did the other version in 2013, and it was really before I'd started watching again. I think, and I might be getting my times wrong, but I remember, having interest in the CM Punk Rock match at Royal Rumble, because it was The Rock coming back. I had heard a lot of things about CM Punk. I wanted to see that. And so I do remember watching that, but a lot of those shows are Mandy, who is a long-time Southern wrestling fan, goes back to WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling, lots of NWA, WCW stuff, but she's also a WWE fan. And Steve, who is, admittedly so, he will tell you this, is about the definition of a casual fan. In wrestling, and then me sitting here talking about the good old days with the Four Horsemen and how I think someone should, basically bring back the Horseman gimmick, and talking probably about Chris Benoit, because we all know that you and I both, we have this great love of what he did in the ring, not really anything else, whole other story. But it was pretty not good, I'm sure, to listen to. Then at some point I got back into watching again, so I decided to start over, and the first episode of this run was in November of 2014, November 9th to be exact, and it was during what happened around that time. Lucha Underground had 2 weeks in, Vince McMahon had returned to television for the first time in a long time, and there was the debut of Prince Devitt in NXT. Not the television debut, but his debut when he came out, and he came out and his name Prince Devitt showed up on the screen, and then it morphed into Finn Balor, and there were all these fan videos. And then I remember when they aired it, it just showed Finn Balor, and it was so, you could tell it was, they went over and edited over what was on the screen, because it just looked glaringly obvious. And it kind of sucked. It was kind of not cool, because the whole thing, when it said Prince Devitt and that place exploded, was really, really a neat moment. They did kind of make up for it in some of those little short vignettes they did. They had like a 3-piece bunch of vignettes right before his title match in Japan against Kevin Owens, and they showed actual footage of that moment, and Balor even said he wasn't sure how they were going to react, and then there was this huge reaction for him, and it was shocking to him. He didn't expect that. So yeah, that was the kind of first episode, and it was just me by my lonesome. After a while, I did get a co-host named Jason, and Jason was with us for quite a while. He was a great co-host, and that is when I really learned, I need someone to bounce this off of. Due to work schedules and life and stuff, Jason could no longer do the show, so for a while I went back to doing it solo. I took about 6 months off, started doing it again, and then I reached out to folks, and my Floyd and Savior decided to step up and save my ass from doing a bad podcast and join the show. Floyd came in at episode 63. We were doing Backlash predictions. We also did some predictions for the Cruiserweight Classic finale and talked some NXT and TNA. And looking back on the picture I had from that episode, we had Dean Ambrose was still the WWE champion. AJ Styles was challenging because that's when he won the title. Miz was IC champion. Nakamura, I think, was the NXT champion. Ember Moon had made her debut. Kevin Owens had won the Universal title. So it was good stuff. And yeah, it's been great ever since. When I started the show, a lot of the format of the show, I'm not even gonna lie, I completely aped off of the Sol Monster and his show Sol Monster Sounds Off, which, if you are a fan of wrestling podcasts and you're looking for one to follow and you like something that's made by fans, I can't recommend that show enough. He does an excellent job. It drops on Sundays. And so, yeah, and he just hit his 500th episode. He's been doing this for like 10 years. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so that's a little history. And Floyd, what are your thoughts on us finally hitting number 100?
Man, let me tell you, when you reached out in the club for someone that you were looking to do the show, I had been for about 2 years contemplating doing a podcast. Big thing was I didn't know how to do it. It was just like I didn't know how to go about it. Didn't know if Beth definitely didn't want to do it by myself. So finding someone to actually be consistent and show up every week to do the show with was always a concern. So me, if you can't tell by this, if I can't go 100% into something, if I can't give it my all, I'm just not going to even try. So I never did. And I felt like you already had a show. You already had the way you were doing it. You understood the recording, the uploading, and everything that goes along with being in the podcast. And I was like, again, you know what's funny? I actually still have podcast equipment that my friend bought me because I thought about doing the podcast. but I never could find anyone consistently show up with me. So since you already had the format, I was like, it's perfect. And me and you hadn't really talked a lot since we worked together at Sprint. It was kind of like we were friends on Facebook. I saw your post. You saw my post. You liked some of my stuff about wrestling. I liked some of your stuff about wrestling, but it wasn't like we were talking. So it was like we got on the show, and it was just automatic. We clicked. You are very much the technician of this group. You are the Tully Blanchard of this tag team, the ring general. You know everywhere to be. You know how to make it sound good. You tell me when I'm echoing and the stuff. And I'm Arn Anderson because I am the enforcer. I'm very loud. I'm very proud. And I have a lot of differing opinions that I'm really not afraid to say. So I felt like we worked together. Very much a brainbusters type group in here. So it's honestly, it has put a flame to my passion that was already there. You know, I'm an extreme wrestling fan. That's what people know about me, is that I'm a wrestling fan. So it put a little fire. It made me it got me back into TNA. It got me back into other wrestlings. I can honestly say I'd never really watched a full New Japan show until I started doing this show. So the top fives allows me to go back in the history of wrestling, and it allows me to bounce ideas off of you. And then I have friends that honestly, we weren't hanging out and stuff. I told them about the show. They listen every week, and I get to hear their ideas every week. So everything that's involved with the show has been a blessing to me. Unfortunately, during this time when I started, it was like I had to find a place to do it. I was in the loudest place ever. My friend had like a lot of dogs. So, and it has evolved now, and you can see as I've gotten comfortable and all that through that I feel like the show's gotten a lot better. So, I definitely thank you. Thank you for bringing me on this journey with you to 100. I'm looking forward to making it all the way to 200. And thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. Hey man, you saved the show. So yeah. Now, since we've just pulled a WWE and congratulated ourselves a lot, let's get on to the week that was. Now, do you want to start with Dominion, or do you want to
Let's start with Dominion, because it's funny, because this is kind of cool. I did not know this. Where I was at the time didn't have Wi-Fi, and everybody had been talking about it all week, so I couldn't connect to it that night, which I had no problem with. I watched it later that week. But New Japan Pro Wrestling, it actually was on my birthday. The show started on my birthday.
That's awesome. That is.
Yeah, so it would have been even awesome if I knew. I didn't even know everybody was talking about Dominion. I didn't realize it was a big show for them. I just thought it was just kind of like a show. But it ended up being a great show. I can honestly say, based on your advice, I kind of skimmed through the first half, so don't have a lot of opinions. Once we got to, I believe, we went juniors. I wouldn't even call it half, but the junior tag match, and then the title matches I was down for. And then I watched Cody and Mike Elgin.
Yeah, my notes start with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Title match. The first half, I skimmed through most of it, and I'm not gonna lie, I skimmed through a pretty decent chunk of the Goto Suzuki, the Never Openweight title match, that lumberjack thing. And I did watch parts of the Never 6-man title match, just because the match included Zack Sabre Jr. and Ricochet. So I would watch their parts, because it's Zack Sabre Jr. and Ricochet. So you don't turn that off when that's on your television, or in my case, my computer screen. So, but my only thoughts on that is, other than that title is a complete throwaway title. The champions retained, which is rare. That title has changed hands so many times in its very short existence, and the most defenses, I think maybe one or two teams have successfully defended the belt twice. Majority of the time, you win it, and then you lose it in your next defense, or you win it, you defend it once, you keep it, next defense you lose it. It's just this hot potato thing, and it's crazy. But yeah, we'll start with the important stuff, and New Japan does this really, really good job of the kind of back end of their shows. They put all their title matches together, and there's rarely, if ever, any filler. It's when you hit that point in the show, it is sit down, strap in, or if you're watching it afterwards, you hit the pause button when you have to go do something else. Because from the point when this Young Bucks Roppongi Vice match started, it was pretty much balls to the wall the rest of the entire time. Speaking of the Young Bucks challenging Roppongi Vice for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship, these two teams are awesome. They work so well together, and this was one of many, many rematches from bloody hell, what's that thing called? Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was awesome. And like a lot of the matches, that was wrestled in a very different way. In fact, I heard some folks on another show basically compare that, say, the Young Bucks wrestled in a very like Midnight Express 80s Southern style, almost like they were trying to out-revival the revival. And in fact, in the beginning of when they came out, at one point, I forget which one because I get Nick and Matt mixed up, but one of them was standing on the turnbuckle. He looked right at the camera and he said FTR, which it took me a second, but I did figure out that means fuck the revival, which is something they love to say. And it was so funny. Kevin Kelly was like, FTR? What's that? Knowing full well what he was talking about. I thought that was a good little moment. But this match was awesome. What were your thoughts?
I thought it was a really good match. As far as tag matches go, like I said, I like the Young Bucks. I will never be in love with them like everybody else. They throw too many super kicks for me. I'll tell them that to their face and watch them go throw more super kicks the next match. But yeah, it was a really good match. I do like that they got rid of Beretta. What was the other guy's name?
Rocky Romero.
They got rid of him. He was out most of the match, like, it was the Midnight Express style. So that was really cool.
It really was
that much, and that they. I like that they did the isolation tag team. I love that part of wrestling, and I like that they did it a different way. It wasn't that, they worked an arm or whatever. They actually got rid of him outside the ring, and I almost the match was more of a tornado tag, which was kind of weird because it was very little actual tagging in the match.
Yeah, no, New Japan's, depending on how you think of it, is either pretty good or pretty bad about letting people just run all over the place in their tag matches. Sometimes they're just like, fuck it, let them go.
There's no tag ropes or 5 seconds or
yeah,
anything like that. So definitely as a fan of traditional tag team wrestling, it was a little hectic to me. But when you got to the end of the match, they put on a great show. It was a great show. It gets me excited. It's kind of what I wish the Cruiserweight division would be in the WWE. I felt like that's what they led us to be with the Cruiserweight tournament. So it was cool.
It was, and Young Bucks got the win, which is kind of what I think traditional wisdom figured Young Bucks were winning, partially because the next big event coming up for New Japan Pro Wrestling is the G1 Specials in Long Beach, California. And some of the matches were announced on this show, but it was a pretty safe bet that you were going to have the Young Bucks, who are just stupidly huge on the indie scene, go into those set of shows with those belts.
Yeah, they basically said that's their backyard, their hometown. It's in California, so
yeah. Yeah. So that was, and again, pretty much all these matches we're about to talk about. If you're new to New Japan Pro Wrestling, these are a great place to start because these are all really fun matches in very different ways. All right. So the next up was the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championship. The Guerrillas of Destiny challenging War Machine, and man, there were some chair shots in this match that just. Especially the one that ended it. I see those, and there was a time you would see that, you're like, oh, that's so brutal. Oh my God! And now I see them, I'm like, oh shit, guys, please don't, because you know how.
And that's the thing New Japan's gonna have to worry about if they're really trying to get an American presence, right? The whole thing is the reason WWE has become so watered down is because they get tired of being sued. And, New Japan, you're a wrestler. You freaking deal with it. You take chair shots. You do headshots. You take pile drivers. Like this match was probably, you won't see a WWE match that's half as physical as this match.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, these dudes are just potatoing each other. And they're big dudes, and they're just knocking the crap out of each other. And if they aren't actually hurting each other, man, they're really good at their job because they look like they're knocking the hell out of each other. And it's just like, okay, yeah, you're going to hit me, but understand, I'm about to hit you back. And it's a very physical style. It's not something you can do 300 nights a year, definitely. But it's a very physical style. And I dig Guerrillas of Destiny. I do. They're one of my favorite non-WWE tag teams, if not my favorite non-WWE tag team. This match was really, really physical. And like I said, the whole chair shot to the head thing. Oh, yep, concussion. Let's sue you for concussions. Let's sue you for this. Let's sue you for that. I believe my friend Alex used to live in Japan, and he told me litigation is different over there. So pretty much if you sign up to wrestle, you can't then sue somebody because you got, hurt wrestling.
Which kind of goes without saying.
But in the WWE, you have all these people that wrestled after all these other people that wrestled don't have the greatest adult lives, and they still choose to go into wrestling, and then they blame WWE because they got hurt.
Yeah, it's just like if you go into, football, full well, even playing Little League football as a 7-year-old, you go into football in high school, you go into college, and certainly you go in the NFL, that there is a very good chance you are going to get fucked up.
Yeah.
And, so it's your own... it's on you, man.
I appreciate wrestlers probably more than anyone else, but understand, you can't to me say, hey, we should get paid all this money because we're away from the family, injuries, blah, blah, blah. Then when your career is over, say, well, I got injured. What?
Yeah.
That seems to contradict each other. It seems to go like you're arguing both ends of it, and that annoys me. Like I said, I've never been a wrestler. I've never done anything like that, so I know it's easy for me to say deal with it, but my whole aspect is that you have a history. Wrestling's lots of years old, and professional wrestling, as far as people doing it as their everyday life, goes back to the 60s now. That being said, you are at this point in time where you see old wrestlers and you have a decision you can make. Exactly.
Yeah, it's because some of these guys are real stinking messed up. It is, in a lot of ways, the best way to have a wrestling career for an individual's long-term health is you get in, you do it for 5, maybe 10 years, and then you get the hell out. Either that or you wrestle an extremely safe style. Like, I highly doubt The Miz will be a cripple at 65.
Hey, he wrestles a safe style.
He does. Cody Rhodes will probably not be a cripple at 65. Ricochet might not walk at 55.
CM Punk, if you talk about his WWE days, he should be fine. But everything he did previously to WWE, it might be a problem.
Yeah, Daniel Bryan had to retire because he fudged up his head with concussions.
Oh, and he can't wait to get from under WWE's contract so he can do it again.
He has a child. I mean, at some point, and I'm hoping maybe that now that his child is born, that some of that perspective will change, and he'll have that light bulb moment of, it's no longer about me, it's about this life that I helped bring into the world. And everything I do needs to be about making sure this person is safe and secure and successful.
Well, we have this thing where people are sue happy. And so what happens is the WWE doesn't take someone like Daniel Bryan and overprotect him. Like, hey, you can't wrestle. You probably could wrestle, but you may get hurt permanently. So kind of protect our interests, we're not going to let you wrestle. And Daniel Bryan is, as subtly as he can, has said that. He thinks he's cleared. It's just that the WWE, to protect their own interests, aren't going to let him wrestle. They have to look at it like they're concussion friendly, right? That's fine. Daniel Bryan thinks he's healthy enough to wrestle. And what can happen, which is horrible, is that Daniel Bryan can convince WWE he can wrestle. In his next match, he takes a nasty bump, right? He gets concussed or whatever, and where it starts to really affect him mentally, and he can't get back healthy. At that point, Daniel Bryan can then sue the WWE for clearing him.
Yeah, that's jacked on so many levels, and I don't blame the WWE for saying, nope, you get concussed a lot. We are not having you become a cripple on our watch. Not at this point when the medical technology is so good that they can tell early on if someone is really messed up. Yep. And so, there's zero reason to let him into the ring. I mean, if he was able to maybe change his style, become safer. But that's not going to happen. He will throw himself off of whatever, and it will be crazy.
He did make a good point, though. He said, I am a smaller guy, and I like to wrestle against heavyweights. The style that I wrestle now, the intense, quick, physical, quick-hitting style, is the only way I'm believable beating anyone. And to me, that was the most, self-reliant, self-aware moment that it made me more of a Daniel Bryan fan. Because you know how I am against smaller guys, against bigger guys. It buys it. He says the style, the way he works, is the only way it works. If he tried to work a slower style against someone, he always says like Brock Lesnar or people like that, it just doesn't work.
Right. And I think some of what is a problem for him, I truly think the diving headbutt did a lot of damage to him over the years.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Harley Race said he never wished he invented the move. Then Chris Benoit happened, unfortunately. And so the fact that he would even try to do that move kind of irks me.
Yeah.
That move should be gone.
And it would be one thing if, when he first started, because if I'm not mistaken, when he started wrestling before Benoit died. Mm-hmm. So when he first started, if he was using that move, and then all the stuff with Benoit happened, and they did the autopsy, and they showed his brain and all that stuff, and at that point he went, whoa, enough of that, I'm done. But that's just one thing. He also did tons of dives out of the ring. And it doesn't help that Sheamus kicked him straight the fuck in the head and gave him a concussion at one point. And that is, which does admittedly make that bro kick very believable, because I have no doubts in my mind, if that ginormous ass boot comes and hits you full blown in the face, you are going to be out for at least 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So, but we digress. So, next match, we had Cody Rhodes taking on...
hold on. We didn't say this. Gorillas of Destiny won the titles.
Oh, yeah. And this is a pretty... I don't know if it was... I can't really say it's a theme, because this is kind of where Bullet Club stopped winning titles for the night. But Gorillas of Destiny are a team that New Japan loves, and they're a team that went from the early stuff I saw of them, they stunk. They've always looked incredible. In fact, I forget the one who's real ripped.
Tama Roja?
Maybe. He looks kind of like Jason Momoa.
Because Tama Tonga wears the black and white paint.
They both wear black and white paint at times.
No, but I'm just saying when they like were doing the promo before, one was wearing paint and one wasn't. The one wearing paint that pretty much wears paint all the time is Tama Tonga.
Okay. Yeah, this one he has long hair. I think he has kind of a long beard.
Yeah, it's Tama Tonga. The other Tonga Roja was Micah in TNA. He's the bigger of the two.
Okay, yeah, the guy who's a little bit... I mean, they're both big dudes, but the Tama Tonga is the one who, has abs forever, and when he doesn't have his paint on, he's a good-looking dude. And you're like, wait, Haku is your dad? Because Haku's not a good-looking guy. Scary-looking guy, but not really what you would call traditionally attractive. And but yeah, these two have become a hell of a good tag team, really entertaining. Partially because they cuss like sailors throughout the entire match, and it's just. I was gonna say,
I hope they get a short WWE run at one point. The one I talk about, Micah, the big one, Tama Roja, he's actually really young. I know they're brothers. I don't know enough about Tama Tonga to know exactly how old he is.
Yeah, I would
like everybody's friend. Everybody that's anybody in the WWE loves Tama Tonga.
Yeah, and I think if they were in, they could either do really well in WWE or it would be real bad. And I don't know. I don't know which. But then there's this part of me that's like, not everyone needs to go to WWE. And I could see them being, New Japan lifers, because they've got a good deal there. At least as long as the Bullet Club goes on, who knows what will happen someday, if or when the Bullet Club disbands. But speaking of Cody Rhodes taking on Michael Elgin in the next match, I actually didn't watch most of this.
I did.
You did? What'd you think?
It was disappointing. Because it was an American-style match in the middle of a Japan-style show where they're wrestling Extreme Stone style, and Cody Rhodes and Mike Elgin pretty much put on a normal match. Don't get me wrong. It was a good match, but a normal match. So compared to what else you were watching, that's what the problem was there.
Yeah, and Michael Elgin's one of those guys. He can work either the standard American style. I mean, you could put him in a WWE ring against WWE wrestlers, and he would do great. You put him in New Japan with New Japan style wrestlers, and he does great. He is for a short, big guy, he's a very versatile worker. And I don't think he'll ever get a run in WWE. Plus, if he did, I don't know if they would know what to do with him. But I also think he's very happy in New Japan.
And I think he's very happy having his freedom. That's a big thing, is that in the WWE, you have to come in, you got to be willing to basically give your life away.
And that is something, creative freedom, I think, is something we're going to talk about, especially in the main event. But next up was just, oh my God, this match. Kushida challenging Takahashi for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Kushida came in. He won the Best of the Super Juniors in a Match of the Year contender against Will Ospreay. He's also the Ring of Honor TV champion, even though I think that title change just aired this week or last week. And he was a ball of fire. So there were a couple of notes that I had in this match that I'm just going to read. One was, holy fuck, that dropkick spot outside the ring by Kushida was incredible. And then there was and this is in all caps, holy shit, that sunset bomb on the floor.
Yes.
Oh, God. And I swear to God, if Kushida did not get a concussion after that, I don't know.
They know how to wrestle over there, man.
Oh my God, they
know
do.
how to wrestle. And what I'm saying is they know how to protect themselves. They know how to make it look physical and not kill themselves.
Which is, and they do. It looks so physical, and that's something we'll get into in the main event because Okada's drop kicks are something to behold, and something I never ever want to take.
I actually had a problem with Okada's drop kicks.
What? We'll get to that.
Okay.
But so Kushida, I loved how he won because he kept going back to the Kimura or the hoverboard lock.
Yeah.
And then he did a thing where he added extra pressure by
He
twisting.
bent the wrist.
Yeah. And then that was the point where Takahashi was like, nope, I'm done. This was excellent. One of the best matches of the night, I thought.
Yeah, in the storyline, I don't very much go with the storyline on New Japan very much, but I thought it was they wanted to get rid of the belt or something like that. Oh no, that was later, right? That's
that's in the IC match.
Tanahashi, yeah, it sounds really simple. Sorry,
Yeah, no, that's fine. Oh,
winning with that lock was pretty cool, and you will hear about that lock later on in our top 5 submissions.
Yes, you will hear about it from me as well.
It became. I got on my list from that move, and I was like, someone in the WWE needs to do that move.
And I actually, after you mentioned that, I was like, holy crap, he's right. I'm putting that on my list. I thought it was interesting because Kushida is this big-time babyface, but there were moments in the match he got booed, and especially toward the end. And then Bushi comes out, who is a masked guy in LIJ, and hit Kushida in the face with the mist, setting up a program between these two it's going to headline a show at Kurikan Hall. Apparently they have feuded a lot over the years, so it's going to be a placeholder. Bushi's probably not going to win. Takahashi has had a hell of a year, has had kind of a monster push, and he is an incredible wrestler if you watch any of his matches. So I suspect that he will win this belt back from Kushida at some point in the next few months, and then he will hold that title for probably a long time. But the crowd popped super hard for Bushi coming out and making that attack. So it's interesting, and the commentary team talked a lot about the crowd in this building in Osaka Hall, how they will. Sometimes they're a contrarian crowd. It's almost like, you know, how the Raw after Mania, how they'll boo who they normally cheer and cheer who they normally boo. Crap. But in this case, it actually is true. You would see them, you know, cheering heels and booing faces, and it was an interesting dynamic, I thought. Did you have any other thing on this match?
No, honestly, it was I really enjoyed it. I love the selling and him going back to the submission, and he did definitely sell the arm. So when they got to the final finisher, it was great. Like I said, it was just like, to me, it was a good wrestling match, and it referred. I mean, it just like I said, it just made me want more of that.
Agreed. It's not as good, I think, as the match against Ospreay at the Best of the Super Juniors, the finale. It's not as good as that, but it's still really, really good. Next up, we had the Never Openweight Championship match in what they called a lumberjack death match. There was nothing deathly about it other than possible death of boredom. Goto challenging Suzuki, and I fast-forwarded through lots of this. I saw some of those wicked-ass chair shots that also made me cringe, and Suzuki won. I don't give two poops about either of these guys. Goto's a solid worker. His match against Shibata at Wrestle Kingdom was awesome. That was a really good match. And this is one of the few matches that wasn't really a rematch from Wrestle Kingdom, you know, because Shibata damn near died in a match, so There was that, unfortunately.
Goto put on a guillotine choke that I thought looked pretty good into it. Then it went into a sleeper and then hit his GTR, which looks pretty stiff. I love that move. But at the end, Suzuki, and I'm guessing he is the name of Suzuki Gun. That's where Suzuki Gun comes from.
Yeah.
Suzuki hits a jumping Gotch-style pile driver where he spins in the mid-air on it. And like I said, I don't know the kind of control that takes. But it looks like the spinning actually keeps the person from actually landing on their head, but it looks sick. And I think the pile driver looks sick.
Yes, that's a great move. That looks awesome. So Suzuki retained. Next up, we have the IWGP Intercontinental title match.
Tanahashi. Talk about.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Tanahashi challenging Naito. Real quick, I forgot to mention, back on the Cody-Michael Elgin match, I thought it was really interesting. Kevin Kelly made a point to say this is a match of former Intercontinental champions. And he referred to Cody's couple of Intercontinental title reigns at WWE. He referred to Michael Elgin being a former IWGP IC champ. I thought that was a nice little touch of history. And since those belts it's real common to have, world titles. Many organizations have world titles in different promotions. It's not often that a secondary title has the same name in different places, other than maybe like a TV title. So it's kind of cool seeing those two belts being compared to each other.
And I thought it was cool that they talked about how Cody Rhodes is undefeated in the New Japan, and that he keeps asking for more competition.
Exactly, which will play into the main event and what happened after the main event. So this match, the story of this is Naito just does not care about the belt. He disrespects it. I don't think he doesn't care. He wants it, but he treats it like crap because I guess he has an issue with New Japan corporate or whatever. And he throws the title around, and he has beaten that poor belt to poop. One of the side panel things has fallen off. The main part has a part of it's like ripped off. And they mentioned in the commentary how he has basically said, Naito had said he wanted to keep using this title and then basically beat Tanahashi and have it retired because it doesn't mean anything anymore.
He says there's too many belts in New Japan. With the addition of the U.S. belt, everyone will have a title.
Exactly. And that was a great little story. Now, talking about that U.S. title, the consensus is that New Japan North America will basically function as a separate territory, a separate brand, so to speak. So it'll almost be, like
what the UK title is.
Right. Well, yes, exactly. Like the UK title, or like the UK title once the UK title has a separate show. And there will be some crossovers here and there, but it will eventually just function as its own entity.
My problem with ROH is, why are you going to basically help fund and represent competition?
Those two companies are really in bed together, and I think New Japan gets a whole lot more out of it, really, than Ring of Honor does. But it's mutually beneficial for them. So it's, in a lot of ways, it is like WWE's deal with Progress. They are probably going to piggyback off of Progress for a lot of their UK shows. And they're banking on Progress and ICW's crowds to come out to their UK shows. And in a lot of ways, New Japan is going to work with Ring of Honor, and it's a great place for them to promote what they're doing. But if you look at the cards of those two G1 shows, they don't look like Ring of Honor shows with a smattering of New Japan people. They look like New Japan shows with a couple of Ring of Honor guys. So it's definitely going to have more of that New Japan flavor. But back to this match. This was really, really good. It was kind of sloppy at points, which I liked, and they did some really good storytelling, and I loved that Tanahashi went after a body part, and they actually both did this at times. Naito went after Tanahashi's arm, Tanahashi went after Naito's knee, and Tanahashi won with something that is not his usual finisher, not the high fly flow. And that actually will come up later in our top 5 submissions. But he won with the cloverleaf. And so what are your thoughts on this match?
Oh, dude, the fact that he did cloverleaf in an extended position, almost like a Walls of Jericho thing, that made me mark out so much, just because it just looked really cool. The match, as far as they both sold each other, working on each other part, really, really well. I enjoyed this match. It was probably my favorite match on the card.
Very good, very nice. It was certainly up there for me. It was an outstanding match. I mean, with 2 elite level wrestlers, you can't say anything really bad about either of these guys. I'm guessing they're going to mint a new IC belt for Tanahashi. Because that other one is falling apart. I mean, it doesn't quite look as bad as that hardcore belt did the WWE had, which looked like the one, the winged
Beagle,
winged Eagle belt, just broken. But it's getting there. This was really good. Now Naito is going to be in the U.S. Championship tournament with a number of other folks, but we can actually talk about that a little bit later on. Then that takes us to the main event. Kenny Omega challenging Kazuchika, I mispronounce his first name, I'm sure, Okada. It's their second meeting for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
KO versus KO, let's do it.
Yeah, so this... Okay, so first of all, this was a 60-minute time limit draw, and it did not feel like a 60-minute match, I thought. The pace these guys worked was ridiculous. And so this was one of the best 60-minute draws I think I've ever seen. If we're qualifying it that way, yes. They actually had it rated higher than the first match, which I seriously had a problem with. Because, in my opinion, and I want you to argue with me on this, I felt like in the first match, and I had no idea when I watched it what the result was. I really didn't. So I watched the first match, and we got about 10, 15 minutes in the match, and I was completely engulfed in this match. I mean, I was like completely taken in. I was on the edge of my seat. I didn't know what the hell was going on, and it was a really great match. This one, I felt like there were some parts in the middle where it lost me. Yeah, I can see that. It was, I mean, first and foremost, this was not a better match than the Wrestle Kingdom match. It was a great match. You cannot say that this wasn't a great match. It was...
Oh, no, it was a great match. I would say it was a 5-star match.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
it wasn't a 6-star match.
No.
And like I say, and that's where you have to kind of be, when someone's like, you're nitpicky, the only way that 6 stars means anything is if you're extremely nitpicky.
Exactly. And
that's the only way it means anything. Like, you have to be nitpicky.
And when a match is this good, there is nothing to do but nitpick.
Yeah. So
it's in this
in the middle, it was just kind of like, again, I love the storytelling, the extended storytelling that he just couldn't get the one-winged angel in, and if he got the one-winged angel in, that was it. And he gets the one-winged angel in, and his foot's on the rope. Oh my God! Because WWE overuses that, the foot on the rope. Mm-hmm. To me, they overuse it, but this one was done so perfectly. Oh my God! If you're just basing it on that storytelling aspect of the show, it's probably better than anything WWE's put on in like a year. Just storytelling, just that aspect of storytelling is like completely physical storytelling that I can't get to move on. I finally get to move on. This is it. Oh my God. And you know what? On the WWE, they'll do it where, okay, the dude will be close to the ropes and he hooks the right leg every time. But for this story, he's got to hook the left leg. No, he did the move exactly the same way he does it. He put the pin in exactly the same way he does it, and the foot just draped over the rope.
Exactly. Oh yeah, it was beautiful.
It was excellent. That's the wrestling. I had a nerdgasm right there because I just as somebody that loves the tiny details. Oh my God, that was a great detail.
Oh yeah, and then Kenny Omega's face after that. Just both of their facial expressions throughout this match. So I mentioned earlier you mentioned creative freedom, and I said we're going to talk about that in the main event. I think this is something where these two guys they were not told by somebody in the back, I think, how to work this match. I think they came up with this. They have a tremendous chemistry, and Kenny Omega is a wrestling genius. This man, when he retires, he will have a job for life as a booker anywhere he wants. He is that good at putting these things together. And this match just screamed Kenny Omega through the whole thing. I mean, the spots were incredible. The storytelling was off the charts. It was... When I'm watching it, I did not feel as invested in this match as I did the Wrestle Kingdom match.
Okay.
And it was, I enjoyed it. And looking back at it, I can appreciate it a little bit more now. But in the moment, I was not as enthralled as I was during the Wrestle Kingdom match. Because at the end of the Wrestle Kingdom match, I literally sat there and said to myself, that is one of the best things I've ever seen in my entire life, if not the greatest match of all time. It is up there in that conversation, if not the best match of all time, top 5, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I think. This...
Yeah, he always used the Rainmaker to me. That was the thing.
He does that, and it's... Because, really, the Rainmaker is devastating, but the Rainmaker is not a move that I think is... There's some moves you can hit out of the middle of nowhere and okay, you just knocked a fool out. And really, the super kick should be one of those moves. Because you think about, if you compare it to a move in boxing, and this is something I mentioned before, you get punched in the jaw, you are out for 10 seconds at least. You get counted out, it's done, game over. So to me, a super kick is the same type of thing, except it's a kick in the freaking jaw. If you get kicked in the jaw, you are going to be unconscious. And sometimes when they're placed right, and it's just game over. And when someone kicks out, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe they kicked out. And that's the difference between, say, an excellently placed Dolph Ziggler, Shawn Michaels super kick versus the Young Bucks who just do it for shits and grins. Because there's a difference between them. And so the Rainmaker I see as... You have to be pretty beaten down for the Rainmaker to work. There's some finishers that you just have to be in a certain spot for the Rainmaker to really put you away. This all having been said, I don't ever want to be given the Rainmaker.
You know what? I'm just saying, I didn't know if it was pushed, if it had been pushed as a devastating move, because I'm like, if it's been pushed as a devastating move, this dude kicks out of it like it's a body slam, like all the time. He kicks out of it.
I think part of the long-term storytelling that they're doing with Okada, and to give credit where credit is due, I actually a lot of these ideas I heard on the Voices of Wrestling, because they do a lot of New Japan stuff on their show, but they do a lot of storytelling with Okada that is it's getting harder and harder for him to hold on to the belt. And so he has to put in a little bit more effort each time, and the belt's just slipping away from him slightly, and he's just barely holding on to it. So it's taking more Rainmakers to put someone down. Just like in that first match, he hit like 7 Rainmakers before Omega finally just was it was game over. But then you had that moment at the end when Okada goes for the Rainmaker and Omega just collapsed. And then Okada had such force, he went flying across the ring. That was such a great spot. I loved that spot. And then you have the intrigue of Cody Rhodes coming out to throw in the towel. And he's like, he's sitting there telling the Young Bucks are, no, don't. He's like, he's getting murdered. He's taken like 9 Rainmakers. We've got to stop. And the rest of the Bullet Club's just standing there like, what do we do? And so they don't throw in, Cody doesn't throw in the towel. But that does play in to what happens after the match. And going forward, I think. And it sets the seeds for a possible Kenny Omega Young Bucks break away from the Bullet Club, which apparently is something they've been wanting to do for a while. They've been wanting to go on and do just the Elite, just the 3 of them.
Really?
Yeah. I think they just want to do kind of their own thing. And it was when Adam Cole was in the Bullet Club, that made it real hard because those guys are all like best friends. So now that Adam Cole is no longer with them, it's going to be a lot easier for him to...
Leader of the Bullet Club.
Do what? Say that again?
Maybe Cody Rhodes becomes the leader of the Bullet Club.
Correct. Because if you think back to that moment, you've got the Young Bucks saying, don't throw in the towel. Cody's like, he's getting killed. And he looks like he's concerned, but there's also part of this, does he want to be the one to beat Okada? Is that his real motivation? And literally the other Bullet Club guys are standing there like, I don't know what to do right now. This is uncomfortable. Who do we follow? And it's just brilliant storytelling. So now you mentioned that you had some issues with Okada's drop kicks.
Yes. It's not selling. That's my problem. I mean, the dude that just beat up and destroyed your knee, and now you throwing these amazingly beautiful drop kicks.
Yeah,
got a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah, drop kick is jumping off both of your legs. If your knee is jacked up, that doesn't seem like you'd be able to throw a very good drop kick.
Yeah, he would sell it then afterwards, like, oh crap, what did I just do? But it's like just one of his go-to moves that like instinct takes over.
Yeah, I get it, but it's just like one of those things. It's like, don't throw it as pretty.
Oh my God, and he does.
Yeah, just throw a drop kick, like hit him in the chest, and then the announcer can say, hey, he didn't get as high on that drop kick. It didn't look as good as it normally does. Something like that to me would have been. The fact that they were just so beautiful after his knee has been beat to hell.
Man, speaking of
like I said, I'm nitpicking.
Yeah.
I have no...
True. That one that Okada hit on the outside of the ring, where it was that shotgun drop kick onto Omega, where he launched himself like over a chair, over a barricade.
Yeah.
Holy fuck! Oh my! I'm watching this. I'm like, how are they walking after that? And then speaking of, freaking the through the table, the elbow drop through the table, a table that's not gimmicked, that had to suck.
Yeah, you could tell it wasn't gimmicked because after you could see that it had broken on the back, like more like a regular table.
Yes. Oh my God. Throw these guys a bone, man. Give them a table that's going to fall apart when you breathe on it wrong. Oh, that's brutal. But yeah, I will say Okada's drop kicks are something to behold. And that was something that did not bother me in the match because I was engrossed enough into it that I could believe it or argue it away or rationalize it, I guess, through it's one of his go-to moves, adrenaline, all that stuff. But you make a very valid point. But Okada
it's beautiful. It just seems like, okay, you're selling the knee. Oh my God, picture perfect drop kick.
And it not only is a beautiful drop kick, it looks like it sucks to take. Because there were a number of those where there was one in particular where just the force in which he hit Omega, and you could just see the way Omega fell, and the shock that went through his body. You knew, I was like, oh my God, that was terrible. And then, the match finally, when it ends, that last stretch, they're kind of hitting big moves, and they're not able to cover each other. And at the point when there are like 10 minutes left, because New Japan announces the time as a match goes on. And when it got to that point, first of all, I was like, holy crap, I've been watching this for 50 minutes? But I was also like, this is going to a 60-minute time limit draw. And when I mentioned earlier that I thought this was probably the best 60-minute time limit draw I've ever seen, whenever I look at a 60-minute draw match, always in my mind, I compare them to that very first Clash of the Champions Sting Ric Flair match. And I truly think this was a better match than that, which is pretty high praise, because I love that match, and I love me some Sting and Ric Flair.
Yeah, you got to go all the way back to the 80s, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, and they're not done very often, but this was done really well, and it does a few things. It sets up a third match at some point, which is going to happen and people are going to be salivating over. It also sets up the Cody Rhodes match, because did you watch any of the post stuff?
No, not at all.
I don't blame you, because it's all in Japan and I have no idea what the fuck anyone's saying. But I was kind of like skimming through a little bit just to see, and they're doing this the press conference thing, which is something else New Japan does, which makes it feel very sports-like, is afterwards they have press conferences, and the guys are sitting there and they're exhausted and they're beat to hell, and they've got press literally talking to them. Well, Chaos, which is the group that Okada's in, Roppongi Vice are in there, Will Ospreay's in there. They all, I don't know if they've got a deal with Coors Light, but they all strategically hold a bunch of Coors Lights cans pointed at the camera and do a cheers and are drinking some beer, which I can't imagine is something that's going to taste good after just, having the holy fuck beat out of you for an hour. But Cody Rhodes comes out and is doing a sarcastic clap and says, you know what, you've been looking to branch out into facing international talent. How about you face me? And it has been set that the main event of the first night of the G1 specials in Long Beach is going to be Okada defending the IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Cody Rhodes. And Okada's going to win. There's no way in hell Cody Rhodes is walking out with the IWGP Championship. He may walk in as the Ring of Honor Championship, because there's going to be Best in the World before that, where he's challenging Christopher Daniels for the ROH
I think
title.
you got to get the belt off of Christopher Daniels personally.
You do?
Yeah.
Christopher Daniels he's a great transition champion, and the story of him getting that belt is fantastic. But yeah, long term, he's not a guy you want holding that belt for 6 months to a year. And Cody isn't a guy. He's a big draw in the Indies. He's got name recognition, so he would be a good person to put that belt on for a while. But yeah, there's New Japan, because the thing is, Cody is not that over in Japan. He doesn't get a ton of reaction from the crowd, so I can't imagine them, rolling back into Tokyo with him holding the belt. I could be wrong.
So if they're trying to build a heel champion, yeah, people would hate the Cody Rhodes being the champion.
That is true.
It's funny, he still wrestles a very WWE style.
Yes. So I'm fascinated in watching this match to see what kind of match Okada can get out of him.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting. And actually, let me pull up because the first night the card has been announced. G1 Special Long Beach. Let me see if I can find those cards to talk about. Step up. No, I don't care. Okay. G1 Special. Okay. It sends me one website, which sends me to another one. Goddamn, full match lineup. Here we go. 3 websites later. All right, so here's the tournament for the United States IWGP Championship. Round 1, Michael Elgin taking on Kenny Omega. Jay Lethal taking on Hangman Page, the most Ring of Honor-y of all the matches on this card. Then Juice Robinson taking on Zack Sabre Jr. and Tomohiro Ishii taking on Naito. So think of this. So we could get then Naito versus Zack Sabre Jr., which, holy crap, that would be a great match. I suspect Jay Lethal is going to beat Hangman Page. So it is possible that Kenny Omega could walk out of here with the United States Championship and that they build around him for this new belt. I could also maybe see Jay Lethal getting it. But the other matches, so there is a 8-man tag, Beretta, Rocky Romero, Will Ospreay, and the Briscoes taking on the Young Bucks, Marty Scurll, Takahashi, and Bad Luck Fale. Then we've got Titan Dragon Lee, Valdor Jr., and Juice and Thunder Liger taking on Takahashi, Bushi, Evil, and Sonata. And then we've got the qualifying matches that we just talked about. And then there is David Finlay, Jay White, Kushida, and Tanahashi taking on Tanaka. I can't pronounce that dude's name. Yoshitatsu and Billy Gunn. Fucking Billy Gunn.
Billy Gunn's going to stick around forever.
Billy Gunn. And night 2. Wait till we talk about night 2. Then we've got Girls of Destiny defending the IWGP Tag Team Championships against War Machine, so rematch. Tomohiro Ishii against Naito for the IWGP. Oh no, that's the qualifying matches. And then Okada versus Cody Rhodes as the headline of that show. And then night 2, and of course this isn't a full lineup because you've got the finals and semifinals of the tournament. And then, so a rematch of Roppongi Vice taking on the Young Bucks for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. And the main event, Tanahashi defending the IWGP Intercontinental Championship against Billy Gunn. Because, yes, he's done so much to earn a title shot for that belt.
Of course. He's American, and compared to the people in freaking Ring of Honor, he's a giant.
Yeah, he is. And he's still in good. He's like 50-something years old, and he is still in great shape.
Oh, the dude's in amazing shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff coming up in...
I feel like performance-enhancing nutrients have something to do with that for some reason.
Well, that's pretty much why he got fired from WWE.
Because he's 53, and he seems to be gaining muscle.
How does that happen? I wonder.
Yeah.
So after going through this, do you have any theories on who you think might end up being the U.S. champion?
No, I don't know enough about their product to say that. I'm guessing they're going to want it to be an American, but...
Yeah, I mean, I could see them maybe giving it to Naito. It just, whoever gets it is going to be hanging out in California a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much he wants to. I'm not sure how much Omega wants to. I mean, I could see Lethal getting it. Zack Sabre Jr., I mean, they could tell the story of he's still collecting titles. He's the Evolve champion.
It frustrates me that he is not more involved in the juniors title for New Japan.
It's almost like they book him more as a heavyweight than a junior.
Okay, and then like Ricochet is always in a 6-man match. He's never in the singles title.
And the thing with apparently Ricochet did have he challenged Takahashi. I think some of these names sound really familiar. I'm sure
Tanahashi and Takahashi are only separated by one letter.
Okay, so I don't feel so bad now. But
it's one is a K and one's an N. I get so confused.
But he did challenge for the junior title recently. But it's so weird. Okay, they've got they're working with Will Ospreay, who's under contract, Ricochet, who I think is under contract with them, and Zack Sabre Jr., and you're not doing more with these three guys. Now, a lot of their shows, and I've noticed this from watching them, and I've gleaned this from listening to other podcasts, a lot of what goes on in New Japan Pro Wrestling is 6- and 8-man tag matches. Shitloads of them. All the time. Constantly. That's how they fill out a lot of their cards. So the fact that
fill out those.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that Cody Rhodes has had so many singles matches in big shows is a pretty important deal. And that also is setting him up story-wise for his title shot against Okada. And I think that it should be an interesting match, if nothing else. The Billy Gunn Tanahashi match should also be interesting. That, to me, that was kind of potentially like a train wreck. It could be, okay, and it could really be awful. But we will see. So that's pretty much it. Did you have any other thoughts on Dominion before we move on?
No, I think we got some good coverage on that. That's probably the most New Japan coverage we've done since Wrestle Kingdom.
Probably. I do, when the G1 specials happen, I'm definitely going to watch those. I'm really looking forward to those. We'll talk about that here on the show. And, of course, when Ring of Honor Best in the World comes around, we will most likely talk about that, because those Ring of Honor pay-per-views are always good. As frustrating as the weekly show can be to follow, those pay-per-views are always fun and really good shows. Let's talk a little bit about...
I just saw something funny on Twitter. I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
Just such a random... The Dream, or the Velveteen Dream, put it out the tweet. So apparently there's a wrestler, ... from Japan, ... named Okada. No, go on, Purple Rainmaker. Maybe the one-winged dove. I just thought that was funny. He does a lot of tweets like that, where he takes shots at people.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah, he's the one I like about him. If anybody might hear me like going about Patrick Clark, he's a wrestling nerd, and anybody that's a wrestling nerd that then gets into wrestling, you automatically have a fan in me.
Oh yeah, and you know what? I know from everything I heard, I did not watch Tough Enough at all, but I heard he was the one guy in that show that really had potential.
And he really, really loves wrestling. And that, you don't understand how much that means, too, because you can just tell and how they tell their story when people love wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. He owns this gimmick, man. He's gone full into it. And he's good in the ring. That's what little of NXT I got to watch this week. I did see, how much of that? I got up to his match, and I didn't finish it yet, but it was good. I mean, it was, he's good. He has tons of potential.
He's in sick shape, man.
Oh my God.
And I mean, his abs are like Ravishing Rick Rude level abs.
Oh,
yeah. I'm like, he has on 10-pack. I mean, Finn Balor looks at him and says, I wish I had abs like that. And let me tell you, Finn Balor's abs are impressive. But good Lord, Patrick Clark, that's just genetics.
It is, yeah. And, he dodged a bullet, and that bullet going by the name of Dalton Castle, who re-signed with Ring of Honor. So he is not going to have to compete with someone who has a similar gimmick, who admittedly does that gimmick better.
I mean, yeah, and Dalton Castle's been doing that gimmick for like 3 years. Patrick Clark relatively has been doing it for 3 minutes. So
exactly,
yeah. I mean, Dalton Castle does it better.
And yeah, and I'm very glad Dalton Castle stayed in Ring of Honor, especially if they actually push him. And here's what I would like to see. Some real quick aside on Ring of Honor. So Cody Rhodes beats Christopher Daniels Best in the World. He holds that belt until what is their final battle? Final battle, Dalton Castle challenges and becomes ROH champion. I think that would be a great way to book that. You get Cody in these, 6 month some odd reign, 4 month, 5 month reign, and then you get it onto you get that belt onto a guy who is super over and is under contract with you. So yeah. But hey, let's go on to WWE, which, if I'm not mistaken, there was really only one big eventful thing, despite the fact we have a pay-per-view tonight.
We're gonna pretty much fly through this whole week because honestly, you can tell by the ratings, you can tell by the buzz on the internet. Their shows have been The Raw did a great job. They started with Brock and Samoa Joe, and that's what we're gonna talk about here. They did the pull apart. What did you think about? Did you see this whole segment?
I did, and this was fantastic.
Yeah,
this was. Anyone who went into this doubting that Samoa Joe could hang with Brock Lesnar, if you still doubt this, then I don't know what you watched, because he just got right into the ring, got right up into Brock's face, and out of nowhere, headbutted the fuck out of him.
And then the kick to the face.
Oh, and
I don't think Brock was expecting that.
No, because he looked so pissed.
Oh my God! It was like Paul Heyman's like in the back of Samoa Joe. He's like, dude, y'all gonna get close, and I need you to just kick him in the face. Be like, me and Brock aren't you gonna talk to Brock about that? No, I need you to just do it. That's the only way you're gonna get real emotion out of him. You're just gonna have to kick him in the face, and he just kicks him in the face because Brock did not look like he knew that was coming at all. He looked like he was about to rage kill him. If there wasn't the guy actually holding him back, Samoa Joe, that's going to be just a straight-out fight right there.
Yeah. Oh, it was, I have to say the last great pull-apart brawl that WWE had was with Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. And that was that one where at one point Brock launched himself over like 20 guys to get at The Undertaker. And so there's something to be said for a Brock Lesnar pull-apart brawl when he is with someone who is actually believable. And
I was going to say, I think Brock is going to be more into this. Because let's say with Dean Ambrose, you don't buy Dean Ambrose beating Brock Lesnar. That doesn't get Brock Lesnar excited. But Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar, they get Brock Lesnar excited. And they did some good stuff in that match. And I think Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar, something that looks like a UFC fight, is something that's going to get Brock Lesnar excited.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's one of those things where, yeah, Joe might look like kind of a chubby dude, but the guy can fight. And if this is a real fight between the two, I still think Brock Lesnar wins in the end, but Samoa Joe's going to hurt him.
See, and you look at Joe, and you look at him, and it's like, he's bigger dude, and he's not ripped, but he's not fat. You know what I mean? He doesn't have, like, rolls. It's very even. And he wrestles without a shirt on, so it's not like he's hiding anything. Kevin Owens, my favorite guy, he wears kind of that Spanx type thing and then wears a shirt over it, right?
Right.
Bray Wyatt pretty much does, too. But Samoa Joe wrestles with no shirt on, but it's a very even type build. There's not a lot of rolls. There's no rolls. There's no stretch marks. He's just a big dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that I can't say enough good things about this pull-apart brawl. This was excellent.
And I think the wrestlers pulling them apart did a good job. I think everybody worked real well. It's very much got me excited. The only problem was, other than one more segment, I was pretty much done with Raw after that.
Yeah. I saw some of Elias Sampson's in-ring promo, and then I was done. I didn't see anything else.
I love some Elias Sampson, don't get me wrong. But it's just like, you have this moment where you're really, really excited for anything, and now they have Brock and Joe as the main storyline. They're doing very little to get us excited about the under storylines. Seth and Bray, I'm just not really into. I can't say there's one more, the Titus brand gimmick. I'm really getting into it. I'm really, really, really getting into it. Titus takes Apollo down to the ring and to wrestle Kalisto. Through scouting and in the tape room, as explained by the announcers, Apollo Crews catches Kalisto in one of his more predictable moves, does that little sit-out powerbomb thing that he does, and wins the match. And then they bring Tozawa in the ring and do the selfie like Titus O'Neil always does. And you should have saw the look on Tozawa's face. It was picture perfect. I mean, if I would have timed it a million times, I don't think I could have made that face. It looks like, what the hell are these two doing right now?
I'll have to find that.
Yeah, it was just like, oh my god, I don't know what's going on. Why are they touching me? It was kind of funny. That was the only other, to me, memorable segment from Raw. So, but yeah, Brock and Joe, it's everything we want to be. Dream match. I keep hearing on the online, even though I've been trying to avoid it, that they might do an extended feud with these two.
Yeah, because what ended up happening is so the YouTube clips from the show, the clip of the brawl had over something like 3 million views, and was just hundreds of thousands of views more than anything else on the show. I mean, like double to triple more than the other segment. And because of that, because of this reaction, it's making the folks in the back go, wait a minute, we need to do something more with this. And they're right, they should. Because it's something people really want to see.
I mean, let me just say this. I had no intention of going to Great Balls of Fire. Zero intention of going to Great Balls of Fire. I was going to watch it at home like I normally did. They announced Brock and Samoa Joe, and I called my friend Rusty. I said, do you want to go? He's like, yep, I'm down. I was like, it's around his birthday, so it's his birthday present. Called my friends Steve and Glee, friends of the show, and I was like, hey, y'all down for Dallas? So we're all meeting in Dallas for the show. It went from none of us going to 4 of us going just on that main event.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's, my God,
it's a dream match.
It really is, and there's so few of those anymore. And so yeah, I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be fantastic.
I got to be in the building to support Joe. I would love to see him win, but I wouldn't mind. It's one of the few matches, I'll say this, I wouldn't mind it somehow ending in a no contest where they just go crazy on each other and try to bust each other up. I wouldn't mind that happening. I wouldn't mind Joe winning, of course, but I wouldn't mind Brock winning, but barely winning. It's one of those things that I think New Japan does way better than WWE. Omega got over more in the Okada loss than he could have in any win.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and you think about
and WWE does not do that well enough.
No,
get people over losing,
and they could learn a tremendous lesson from Dominion. And you book this main event, Joe and Lesnar. You book that like that time limit draw. And just have it something like both of the Okada Omega matches, and have Brock barely win, and throughout the match there need to be points where he has this look on his face of like, what do I have to do? I normally kill all of these people, I made John Cena my bitch, and I can't get this fat Samoan to lay down. Yeah, that's what they need to do, and It's. I would like to see that be the program going through SummerSlam.
I'm definitely down with that.
Especially if it really takes off and you get Samoa Joe and they just this Roman Reigns thing isn't working out. Let's give Joe the belt. What the hell? I say do it. I say do it. So anything else from Raw stand out to you?
No.
How about SmackDown? Anything from SmackDown?
SmackDown, we got Zack Ryder return. The return of the Zack. I thought that was pretty cool. Zack Ryder, Mojo was doing an interview. Mojo is a really good promo. He does a very good job of sounding intense. staying calm, not doing the wrestler yelling thing, but getting his point across. I am turning. Yeah, Mojo does a pretty good interview. I did not, and let me say this: I give all credit to Stone Cold, who pointed that out, that people could learn from how he does promos, because he does. I mean, he does his hype thing, but when he's somber, like after that loss, I mean, and it just seemed to come across. He said his points. He hit everything that he was supposed to hit as far as his promo. And then Zack Ryder came back, and then of course, he lit up. He did this thing where he lit up, and then he went right back to stay hype Mojo, and that worked out. I personally think that either Zack Ryder or Mojo Rawley is going to turn on each one of the other.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean,
just because the tag division is too stacked right now. Mojo has a little momentum as a face. He's a big dude, so I really do buy him as a heel.
Wait, hold on. The tag team division is stacked?
On SmackDown it is. You got the Colones. You got the New Day. You got the Usos. You got Breezango, who's really, really over right now. And you have American Alpha, who they're basically keeping off TV.
Well, I was going to say, at the moment, in current storyline, you've got basically 3 teams who are worth a poop. The Fashion Police, the New Day, and the Usos. Because American Alpha is off somewhere doing who knows what. The Colones the Clones have always been great workers, but I'm still not sure anyone buys them. And of course, the Ascension, they're just a joke.
I didn't even mention them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But,
I feel like Jinder Mahal, if he wanted to, and this is, like I said, this is completely out of left field. This is a Floyd thought. This is more of, if I was writing wrestling, I believe in shocking people. And I believe in this case, I would have Mojo turn on Zack and kind of join Jinder Mahal.
As like a heavy?
Yeah, as a heavy, just as somebody, he could say, you know what, me and Jinder were pretty much in the same place on the roster, and he made some changes, and look at where he is now. He can be kind of a guide for me, and then I'll watch his back in return, kind of thing.
I can see it.
But like I said, people will be like, damn, that makes sense. So the WWE will never do it.
Yeah,
so,
true.
Yeah.
Well, this does bring us to... Was there anything else from the show you wanted to talk
Orton
about?
did a sneak attack RKO on Jinder Mahal. I thought it was kind of vintage Orton moment, and I thought it was pretty cool.
So Randy was standing tall, which means we probably know what's going to happen tonight.
I never at any point thought they were taking the belt off Jinder.
I don't think they should either. But tonight is the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. It's interesting. Prior to the brand split, Money in the Bank was, I think, a more important pay-per-view than Survivor Series. It was never booked or talked about as one of the big 4, but in reality, it was one of the most important pay-per-views of the year. And now it is a brand split pay-per-view. It seems to have, its luster has kind of gone.
Yeah, I don't think they did. I think they did everything they could to keep it as important as it was by adding the women's Money in the Bank.
That is how they're saving it. That I will give you there. So,
yeah, it's my 4th pay-per-view. It's the only pay-per-view that I've ever wanted to go to that I haven't been ever been able to work out. I keep saying I'm going to go to it next year. This year was actually perfect year. It should have been this year. It's in St. Louis, Missouri. Some people might know where I was born. My whole family lives there. All I had to do was buy tickets and get there. I wouldn't have had to pay for a hotel or anything. And it just kind of, with the South Padre trip, and I have Great Balls of Fire, then I have SummerSlam. It's just, it kind of got lost in it.
Yeah, you can't go to everything.
Can't go to everything. Yeah, it no matter how much I tell myself that, it still irks me. Like, it's like, oh my God, it's only 8 hours away. Why am I not there?
You'll get there someday.
Yeah.
So here is let's go through the matches, and this is as of right now on our good friend at Wikipedia. Looks like pre-show match is going to be the Hype Bros against the Colognes.
Hype Bros go over.
Yeah, Hype Bros are going over. That should be a good match. Okay, let me rephrase that. That match shouldn't suck.
Hype Bros.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not gonna even go that far. I think it's gonna suck, but Hype Bros.
Well, yeah, I was being nice.
I'm rocking my Zack Ryder shirt today.
Nice.
Because of the return of the Zack.
All right. Then we've got Naomi defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Lana. You thinking there's any chance in hell Lana's walking out with this belt?
It's two ways this match should go. Two ways. Either Lana wins on her NXT show. When she comes out to the ring, she's had, I don't know who the chick is, but she's been coming out with a heavy. I mean, the chick's big chick. She's like bigger than Tamina, not as big as Nia Jax, but she's a big like white chick, and that's what's been going on. So I think if you're going to put Lana over, that lady debuts tonight, and then Lana wins. But my thing is, it should either be Lana wins, or pretty much Naomi squashes her.
Agreed. Yeah. Then we've got the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Carmella with Mr. Ellsworth, Charlotte, Natalya, Tamina, and Becky Lynch. And there's also a rumor that we might have the debut of one Miss Maria Kanellis possibly being added to this match. Because at some point in some advertisement, it talked about both of these matches having, the Money in the Bank matches having 6 contestants. And right now, this one only has 5. So what are the chances that we get Maria and Mike Bennett tonight?
I think it's a great chance we get Maria and Mike Bennett tonight. SmackDown kind of needs them. They would be their version of The Miz and Maurice, and you saw how over Miz and Maurice were on SmackDown. So I definitely think they will debut tonight. Don't think she'll be in the ladder match. She's not a wrestler, really. She takes bumps, but she doesn't really wrestle.
True, they did try to use her in TNA as a wrestler. I'm not sure how well that worked.
No, they really didn't. What they would do is she would come in and, like, Sienna would do all the wrestling, and then she would get the pin. And the way she did it is she was the GM of the women's, or the commissioner of the women's division, and she got the title in someone's hands that she wanted, and she just made her lay down. She never actually wrestled, really.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think she had a match with Gail Kim, one match with Gail Kim where, it was a whole bunch of outside interference and crap.
Yeah, so I still am of the belief that even though I think they should go to NXT first. Mostly because Mike Bennett is an unknown commodity to your average SmackDown viewer, I think. Mike Bennett had a great run in Ring of Honor. He was in TNA during a period when no one watched TNA, and really I don't think they did a whole hell of a lot with him. Yes, Maria is known.
Yeah, very much known.
But he would be served by becoming known through NXT, and then moving to SmackDown. That having been said,
NXT is developmental, and to me, you have to learn how to be on TV and blah blah blah. My whole thing is he's not going to add a lot to NXT. I'm pretty sure Triple H just passed because he's not very big, and he's not going to add a lot to NXT. And second of all, he's been on TV through ROH and TNA over the last few years. If anybody's television ready, it's Mike Bennett.
True. So I see NXT as, and I think we've talked about this before, but at this point NXT has 2 main functions. One is as a developmental brand for people who are either WWE has picked up that have never wrestled and they're building, or people that are relatively new to the indies and need more development. Or 2, it is a place to get WWE audiences familiar with someone that the hardcore fans will know. Because not everyone can show up like AJ Styles and blow the roof off of a place. So it's the reason... so Roderick Strong and Bobby Roode, for example, both TV-ready guys. Really don't need any developing. But they are in NXT to help, one, continue that brand and for a draw for that brand, but two, so that WWE audiences get to know who they are.
Drew McIntyre has talked about that. He does not want to be called up.
Yeah.
He wants to be an NXT guy. Cassius Ohno is the NXT guy. He's not going to be called up. But they're making money. Roderick Strong, I think if he gets called up, it'll be to 205 Live. I don't think it'll be to the main roster. When you're looking at the stars right now, Cien Almas, I think he'll probably be the next guy that goes up.
I could see that. And he might even be a guy whose gimmick works a little bit better on the bigger stage. And he's good. He's really good. He's just had a hard time connecting with the NXT audience, and maybe he'll have an easier time connecting with the bigger audience. It's really...
But it's the Sami Zayn syndrome. He's wrestled under a mask his whole career. Making expressions and selling with his face is not something he's done. This is all new to him. Like, where it would be somebody like Kevin Owens, who's been Kevin Steen for like the last 5-6 years. For him, he's only been this character he's playing for less than a year.
True. Good point.
I mean, that's my only thing for him. That is why I'm not like, I'm not ready to sink Andrade again. It might take him a year and a half to really get comfortable working without a mask. And now they look like they're about to, I don't know if you watch NXT, it looks like they're about to put him with Thea Trinidad, and I think that's going to really, really help get his character over.
Yeah, I think that'll be really good. But in a lot of ways, I look at him and I think, maybe he's like the Drifter. Maybe he's like Mojo Rawley. He's a guy that, just for whatever reason, doesn't connect as well with the smarky, full sail-y crowd, but you get him in front of the more casual audience, he'll have a better time, because it's Mojo, both Mojo and especially the Drifter, are doing so much better on the main roster than they were in NXT. It's like kind of crazy how much better Elias Sampson, in just his 2 months he's been on Raw, the reactions he's getting and everything are so much better than they were when he was in NXT. He had go-away heat in NXT. He's got good heat on Raw. Back to this women's Money in the Bank ladder match. We took a winding road there. Who do you think's walking away with this?
I think Carmella needs it.
Yeah, good call.
So, I'm going to go with Carmella.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to build her as any type of... I think Charlotte is the one that need it. You can just give it to Charlotte on any pay-per-view you want to give it to. Becky, that would be cool if you want to get the fan reaction, because that's who the fans want to win it. She would be the first champion on women's champion on SmackDown, and then the first Money in the Bank champion. But it really doesn't work for her character, right?
Right.
Because it would require her to, kind of screw someone over. Carmella is the slimy character of it, and if somehow they do it in a way where James Ellsworth jumps in and gets the briefcase down and kind of hands it to her, that would be even better.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, I think Carmella's going to walk away with the briefcase, because Charlotte doesn't need it, Natty doesn't need it, Tamina is not... It would be
cool. It would be cool if Natty got it. I mean, honestly, I think she's the one person that, when this revolution, she's trained most of these wrestlers. She's the one person that deserves a big run on top.
True that. All right, next up we've got the Usos defending the SmackDown Tag Team Championships against the New Day. Do you think the New Day are going to be your 3-time tag team champs?
No. I loving their program with the Usos right now, and you want to extend it a little bit. And if you want to do it, again, I'm going into story-making mode. There's 2 ways you want to do this. The Usos cheat to win, which, when you have the 3-on-2 advantage, that kind of makes it hard to do, right?
Right.
The second one, Breezango, cost New Day the championship. That would be more interesting. Then you would make it a 3-way type for the title, and that would make the whole tag team division just more interesting as it is.
I hadn't thought of that. So my gut is Usos retain, and it ends up leading to a match at SummerSlam.
Yeah, and to me, the best way for it to end up leading the matches of SummerSlam is Breezango cost the New Day, and then you have a triple threat tag team match for the SmackDown titles at SummerSlam.
But wouldn't that turn the Fashion Police heel?
Not if they do it because they're just being stupid.
That's true.
Because they do that whole gimmick where they're being silly and stuff, and they just accidentally cost the New Day the championship. Of course, the New Day doesn't take it like that. Of course, they're pissed. But, a lot of people look at it as, they didn't mean to.
Yeah. All right, then we've got the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Dolph Ziggler, Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, and Kevin Owens. I think Baron Corbin is probably the odds-on favorite because WWE loves him, but you could make a legitimate case for handing that briefcase to any one of those guys.
In order, Baron's number one for me. I think, first of all, he needs it. Second of all, it fits his character the best, being slimy and doing anything to win. Waiting until... Third of all, you can wait until you really think he's ready. You can have him cash it in to SmackDown after WrestleMania if you wanted to. He has a year to cash it in. So, Baron is the best place for, because it's like the Money in the Bank becomes another title.
True.
When the person has it. It's basically a championship. So, it's a way of putting the title on Baron Corbin without him being the champion.
Good point.
So he's my number one. Number two would be AJ Styles, and that's just more of you pretty much want to. He's pretty much the face of SmackDown right now. He is SmackDown right now. So if you want to drive that point even more home, put it on AJ Styles. But again, it doesn't work with his character because AJ Styles would be the guy that says he's not going to wait until the person's beat down. He's like, I'm cashing this in at whatever pay-per-view. My third option and my favorite option, the one I want, is Kevin Owens because he's the prize fighter, right? And now he would have multiple prizes, and literally nothing goes better with his character than waiting until somebody's beat down and then taking their title.
Yeah, good call. I would put it in. I think Baron Corbin's probably going to win. I think Kevin Owens would be a good number two. I think the crowd is going to be... The crowd's going to be between... They're going to be behind AJ, Nakamura, and Sami.
Yeah, I was like, Sami Zayn, again, doesn't really fit with his character. If you want to be like... If you want the fans to really get behind and get that really emotional outburst like you did from Daniel Bryan winning the title, Sami Zayn has to win in a match. He has to win it at a pay-per-view. To me, I would build Sami Zayn up to take the title at WrestleMania. Personally, that has always been my thing. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, with Sami Zayn finally winning the title. As much as I can't stand Sami Zayn, that's money. That's just money.
Yeah, that is dollar signs.
Yeah, because everybody wants Sami Zayn to win. There are very few people, I am in the minority, that don't like Sami Zayn. And to me, it's like, I'm thinking the financial side of the WWE, Sami Zayn is money. But you got to keep making them lose.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the only other match that's probably as much, if not more money than that for Mania would be AJ Styles and Nakamura.
Yeah.
And
to me, that's money to me and people like me and you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's great. And to us, that's money. To the casual fan, what's a Wrestle Kingdom? What's a New Japan?
But man, you could do a build-up with that. Whew.
You could. And if somehow you could pay New Japan for some of that film from that match, oh my God.
Yeah. Or if nothing else, man, get some stills from somebody, pictures that people took that, aren't employees of New Japan. and they could get the rights to those pictures, maybe. Yeah. Then we've got the main event, Jinder Mahal defending the WWE Championship against Randy Orton. Singh brothers in tow. I think Jinder wins, especially if Randy Orton was standing tall over him at the end of SmackDown. That's almost always a telltale sign. Plus, they're in Randy Orton's hometown, and you go to your hometown, your ass is laying down. It's just a WWE thing. You lose in your hometown because they're sadistic bastards.
That is true. And you know what? If Randy goes over and maybe Jinder wins it back at SummerSlam, I wouldn't mind it. You have to keep the title picture interesting, and Randy Orton, I don't think he's in that position where he's going to take a back seat to anybody.
No, but also Randy Orton can be pretty bland. So what? At least with Jinder Mahal, it's something new and different. And besides, John Cena's coming back, so All-American John's got to beat the evil foreigner for the title.
Man, let me tell you, I can't say if that happens, I'll be very angry. I honestly won't. I'm just like, it's at this point in time with John Cena, he's John Cena recognized. And you know what? They have beaten me down. I just can't even get that mad about what stuff happens with John Cena anymore. But I don't think they're going to put the title on him in any way.
Speaking of, what were your thoughts on John Cena's comments about people just don't work as hard as he does? They get these big matches with him, and then they just don't work as hard. They lose their motivation.
Absolutely fuck him.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, yes, they get put into a position with you, and they win, and they get sent back to Jobberville.
Yeah, and they don't know how to work around the person that does the same 6 to 8 moves every match. I mean, like I said, my respect level for John Cena's work rate over the last 2 years has went through the roof. His matches with Kevin Owens, his matches with AJ Styles, the fact that he's willing to put people over. I tip my hat to him because he's making money hand over fist in every way, every medium possible. Congratulations, John Cena. Don't get me wrong. But I think the only reason he's willing to put people over now is because he's making money other ways.
Yeah.
I mean, wrestling is probably his secondary income. You know what I'm saying? But it comes down to it. Hey, like I said, you got to respect the dude. Whatever he does for Vince McMahon or whatever he does, he's the perfect corporate guy. He's that guy that's the job you hate. Respect this dude. But I don't think they're going to have him break the title championship number against Jinder Mahal.
I don't know, man. They've got boners for making white guys beat colored guys. I mean,
they do, but they also got boners for people that are willing to enhance their bodies in unnatural ways.
So, that is so. Who gives at this moment? Which gives Vince a bigger erection, Jinder Mahal or John Cena?
Yeah, and you know what? Vince, even though he's there, from what I understand, he doesn't have as much to do with SmackDown as he does with Raw. It's pretty much, Trips running it, or no, who is it? Like Road Dogg and all of them running it.
Yeah, so that's glaringly obvious.
It is a different product. He has had his hand on Jinder Mahal in his promos, but other than that, they pretty much let SmackDown run themselves. So I don't know. Like I said, John Cena, I think he'll be that special event type of guy. He'll come in and wrestle someone that may just not have anything to do right then. So I'm thinking July 4th, Randy Orton coming off his loss to Jinder Mahal. John Cena calls Randy Orton out and says, "Hey, big boy, let's do this one more time in SummerSlam."
Fuck. No. Of all the matches.
Oh my God. You as a wrestling fan, you should love that. It keeps him away from titles.
Okay, you're right.
And it just puts him in the middle of a match that you can ignore.
Okay, now when you mention, because just my first gut reaction is, oh my God, I do not need to see Randy Orton and John Cena in a match again. And then I'm like, oh wait, that can be when I go take a dump.
Yeah, exactly. You can put it in, and they can just beat the crap out of each other in the middle of the show somewhere. And people that love John Cena, it'll be great for them. People that don't like John Cena can go do something else.
Good point.
I will be there for the 4-hour show in New York. So honestly, as long as he's not winning the title, I'm cool.
There you go. Well, that is Money in the Bank. One other thing I will say on the whole John Cena thing, I think sometimes he still thinks he's that guy that stepped out for that first time against Kurt Angle in his debut.
And there's nothing wrong with keeping that chip on your shoulder, but you got to realize you're the guy now. You're the Yankees now.
Yeah, there's a difference between wanting to stay hungry and then being completely clueless. And he almost has Vince McMahon level of cluelessness to some stuff. So because those remarks, he just came off as the biggest D-bag ever with those. But
when some guy's calling you the Babe Ruth of the WWE, I mean, come on, really?
Yeah.
And I think even Vince McMahon, I think he missed sports metaphors. They talking about how long he was on top. He would probably be the Lou Gehrig of the WWE.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that is Money in the Bank. That show is tonight. And we are going to do a review tomorrow morning. It will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to at youtube.com/Around the Ring OK. The following day, it will be on our podcast feed. So if you don't want to do the YouTube thing, if you have a podcast app of choice that you prefer to listen to us on, then just wait an extra day and it will be there for you. And so yeah, hopefully folks are on the fact that we're doing that. Before we get into our top 5 for this week, WWE put out a photo gallery on their website of the 50 greatest finishing moves ever performed inside a WWE ring. So there are definitely some caveats to this list, but this was kind of an interesting list. I thought we would kind of go through it. So here we go. We got Kurt Angle's ankle lock, Razor Ramon's Razor's Edge. I agree with that one. That's an awesome move. Chris Jericho's Walls of Jericho. Randy Savage. Do what?
No, that's a no.
No to the walls.
Yeah, if they want to use Chris Jericho's Lion Tamer, which he has done in the WWE ring, I would be down with it.
Okay, so let's. They're both basically, the Walls of Jericho is just a straight Boston Crab,
which is lame.
Right. The
that he doesn't even sit down on.
The Lion Tamer is the one where he puts his knee behind, basically in between your the shoulder blades. Okay, yeah, that move and when during the Beast in the East special, when he had that match against Neville, that's how he won. He actually busted that out. And that move is badass. Walls of Jericho is lame AF.
Yep.
Lame AF. Then we've got Randy Savage's elbow drop, best elbow drop of all time. Victoria's Widow's Peak.
Love the move. Wish someone, male or female, would do it.
Yeah. Undertaker's Tombstone.
Okay.
And then here's the one where it's... And I just love how they put them next to each other in this freaking list. Diamond Dallas Page's Diamond Cutter, directly followed with Randy Orton's RKO. The same motherfucking move.
Yeah, so basically you made a list of the 49 best finishers.
Exactly.
And
you could make an argument that not the next one, but the one after that, variation of that same move. The next one is Becky Lynch's Disarmor, which we will actually see later on in my top 5.
Okay.
At least somewhere. Then we have Stone Cold Steve Austin's Stunner, which is a variation of a cutter, which is the Diamond Cutter and the RKO.
And to me, I call that no, because it's the whiplash. It's supposed to be like the Mikey Whipwreck was the person that mainly used that move. It was just supposed to make you snap back and really stun you for 3 seconds. It wasn't supposed to ever be a knockout move.
True. I remember the first time seeing it, I was like, oh, it's a Rude Awakening in reverse.
Yeah.
Then we got Bret Hart's Sharpshooter, Shawn Michaels' Sweet Chin Music.
Woo!
Yeah. Finn Balor's Coup de Grace. I don't know about that one, yeah. The Rock's Rock Bottom.
Okay.
The Rock Bottom is basically the Uranagi, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Jake the Snake Roberts' DDT. Agree with that wholeheartedly.
DDT ever?
Yes. Mr. Perfect's Perfect Plex. I love that move. I've always loved that move. Goldberg's...
quick story about the Perfect Plex.
Okay.
my friend Noel, who's a listener of the show, I remember in second grade, that was one of the moves I put on him.
Nice.
That was one of the first moves that was not a DDT that I ever did in anyone.
Nice.
And it really does. Hooking the leg lets you pick the person up without them pretty much helping you at all.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, it really just makes them go over. There's not a lot of resistance you can put up.
Very cool. All right, then we've got Goldberg's jackhammer. I always like that. I would love if someone did a jackhammer off the top rope. I think that would be badass.
That would be cool.
Then we have Roman Reigns' spear. Boo.
Boo, because it should be Goldberg's spear, because it's the best spear ever.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially early on when he was doing that and he forgot he wasn't on a football field and he looked like he just cut people in half.
Yeah, and the big thing about it is, I guess, if you want to go technically, he never used the spear as a finisher.
True. Very true. Brock Lesnar's F5. Can't argue. That's a great move. Though I think it would be cool if someone did the F5 but into a jumping DDT.
That is honestly what the Red Wedding is by the chick from TNA. I forget her name. Rosemary. That's what it is. It's more of a DDT.
Okay, cool. Next, John Cena's Attitude Adjustment. Boo.
Should never be on anyone's list of anything.
Other than moves that suck.
Most overrated moves of all time, maybe?
Yeah, agreed. Wholeheartedly. Jeff Hardy's Swan Bomb. I'm okay with that. Eddie Guerrero's Frog Splash. I'm totally okay with that. Kane's...
I like D'Lo Brown's better, always.
Okay, fair enough.
I just like how he did it. When he spread his legs and did it. And it was funny, because, they have they definitely have a thing in WWE, you can't do anyone's move. At one time, D'Lo Brown, RVD, and Eddie Guerrero were on the same roster.
Oh, that's silly. So,
who was on? They were all doing the move. They all did it a little bit differently, and no one cared.
Well, I mean, you say that. Think of that with the next one, Kane's choke slam. At times, Kane, Undertaker, and Big Show all used choke slams.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Big Show's choke slam, especially his early choke slam, best choke slam ever. The one where
he put his hand under you and then dropped down his whole body weight.
Yes.
That was the best.
Oh, that was so good. The next is the Batista Bomb. Yeah, I guess. Triple H's Pedigree. Sure. I guess.
It's one of my favorite moves ever. So
okay, there you go. Diesel's Jackknife Powerbomb. Diesel had a pretty good power bomb, mostly because he's so freaking gigantically tall.
And the best part about his powerbomb, if you noticed on everybody else's, they tried to slam you down. He kind of picked you up and released you so you could just do a straight back bump.
Yeah, exactly. Except the one time he did it to the Giant in WCW.
Because he shouldn't have ever tried to do that.
No. When he tried, he damn near broke the Giant's neck. Oh, God, that was so brutal. All right, next up we've got Ric Flair's Figure 4. Also, we'll hear about that later on. Then AJ Styles Clash. That's a good one. Keep note. Remember, we've already heard from Kurt Angle, and now we've heard from AJ Styles. Just remember that. We've got Bray Wyatt's Sister Abigail. Sheamus's Bro Kick. That is one of the most protected moves in WWE history. Next up, a move we've already seen on the list, Rhino's Gore.
Yeah.
Again.
Roman Reigns Spear, Rhino's Gore. Same move.
Yeah. Ted DiBiase's $1 Million Dream. Boo.
So we're down to 48 now. 48 moves.
48 actual moves.
Yeah.
The $1 Million Dream, which I always thought sucked. I never understood. It's a half Nelson where you grab the arm that's being half Nelsoned and you pull it. How does that put you to sleep?
You actually, if done correctly, which I've done on many, many people, you use their arm to choke them with it.
Okay.
It's just mostly not done correctly.
It's like the chicken wing. The chicken wing, if done right, looks like it'll pop your shoulder.
Yeah.
And we'll hear about it in a little bit.
Yeah, they did it really, really loose. I mean, when you do a tight $1 Million Dream, it does choke you out.
Okay. Learn something new every day. Next up, Lex Luger's Torture Rack. I love that move. We'll hear more about that later. Baron Corbin's End of Days. That's
Love
a great
that move.
Yeah, and that's basically a flatliner, right?
It's basically a DDT just over the arm.
Yeah, I've always thought it's more of
flatliner.
It's flat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then Neville's Red Arrow, also one of the most protected moves in WWE history.
It's high flying moves I've ever seen.
So good.
It takes too long to set up, but when it's done, it's beautiful.
Yes. Sasha Banks' bank statement.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, no. Nakamura's Kinshasa.
Okay.
I guess.
It's super protected.
Yeah, it is right now. And interestingly enough, it wasn't that protected of a move in New Japan. People kicked out of it left and right, apparently. Rey Mysterio's 619. No, it's cool looking, but I don't.
The one when he did it and then he do the basically the Dragon out of it, I liked it. That combination. But when he started doing the 619, then he dropped the dime, and I thought that was stupid because I was like 150-pound man doing a splash on you doesn't make much sense.
Yep. Hideo Itami's GTS because fuck you, CM Punk. Even though it is his move, but
I was gonna say if CM Punk hadn't said it's Otami's move, then I'd be like fuck you, CM Punk. But
well, no, because to most of the WWE audience that sees this, they think of that as CM Punk's move.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, and I'm sure he has no problems with. Well, one, if he saw this, he would have no problems with it. Then we go to Bob Backlund's crossface chicken wing. Marty Scurll does it 1,000 times better. Marty Scurll does it better than Bob Backlund and Asuka. So
I think Asuka does it pretty sick looking.
She can, but the majority of the time she does it. It looks just the same way Backlund does. And to be fair, good chunk of the time when Marty Scurll does it, it looks like shit too. It just every once in a while he actually hooks it in right. And I don't blame the guys for not wanting to be hooked into it, and gals, because when it's done right, it looks like it sucks. Sucks. Next up, Rick Rude's Rude Awakening, the best variation of that neck breaker ever, because I truly thought he was gonna like hurt people with that. I would not want to take that, especially with as bony as his shoulder was. No, thank you. No. Sting's Scorpion Death Drop. Yeah, they don't give him the sharpshooter, because even though it was a move that he brought from Japan, but I do like the Scorpion Death Drop. Iron Sheik's Camel Clutch. At least they use that one and not freaking Rusev's version of it. Daniel Bryan's Yes Lock, which you will see later on as well.
Hideo Itami's move too.
Yeah. Yep. Again. No. That's the label lock. It was he borrowed Hideo Itami's running knee.
Yeah, running knee. Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah. Lita's moonsault, one of the best moonsaults ever. She had a great moonsault.
Yeah, and it makes the list because Great Muta was never in the WWE.
Exactly. AJ Styles' phenomenal forearm. Now,
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I like it. But,
I mean, I wouldn't put it in the top 50. It's a diving arm.
Yeah. What I really like about it, though, is you look at this list, AJ Styles is only one of two people on it twice. Next, then, Vader's Vader Bomb. Charlotte's Figure 8 leg lock. I mean, you can make the argument it's the same. It's at least a variation of the Figure 4. So
less effective variation, actually. Because if you think about it, and again, this is me going outside realistic, by getting in the Figure 4 position and going up, it makes it a lot easier for the person to just move their leg from under you.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't thought about that.
And it's like you can get out of that Figure 4 anytime you want to, because the purpose is to take your right leg and press it down over the leg to make a force. By her bridging up, you can just move your leg and get out of the move, honestly.
True. And but it also changes the pressure, like when the Figure 4 essentially puts pressure in two places. One on the knee where that the other leg is laying over. And then two on the ankle that is hanging over the knee where the leg, your opponent's leg is draped over. When you do it in the Figure 8, it takes all the pressure off the knee underneath and looks like it puts it on that ankle.
Yeah, but it also takes any type of any type of leverage that you have on the move away.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just looks neat.
It looks cool, but it's really ineffective. But it's kind of more. I mean, the attitude adjustments on this list. So there you go.
Exactly. We got two more. Cesaro's neutralizer. I like that move.
I like it.
Yeah, and then the other person who's on here twice, Kurt Angle's Angle Slam.
Which I loved the Angle Slam back in the day. Certain moves that, okay, it said WWE. So if Macho Man was never in the WWE. So you're taking the WWF area into it also. All the people that have done the pile driver weren't on the list. Pretty much the curb stomp wasn't on the list. The original Dirty Deeds wasn't on the list. These are moves that I actually just really, really enjoyed. Hell's Gate wasn't on the list, which I very much enjoyed that move. I would have bumped a lot of those people, honestly.
Yeah, it is an interesting list, and it's to me WWE, WWF, and WWF, I just are the same organization.
But and I try to give them credit. I try to give them the benefit of doubt that you're not being one of those people that just because it happened the most recent means it's the best. I'm like, Paul, Mr. Wonderful Orndorff's pile driver is one of the best pile drivers I've ever seen. Okay. And he actually knew it how he knew not to how not to hurt people. It's like you say, oh, Bret Hart sharpshooter, and then you don't put Sting, Scorpion, Deathlock on there, which of course they're the same damn move. But you have the RKO and the Diamond Cutter. See, if I was the person and they were about to put out that list, they would probably fire me because I would tell them 112 times how stupid that list was.
The other funny thing is, like, they had two pictures. If you actually go through the slideshow, they had two pictures for each move. On the Diamond Cutter, one of the pictures was from WCW.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's because all the cool Diamond Cutters pretty much happened in WCW. So,
yeah, I just love the idea. Like, he was really the RKO out of nowhere because he could put it on out of every different position. Randy Orton only puts it in out of one position.
No, I mean, he puts it out of...
Yeah. I mean, he does do some differing positions, but it's always that him catching you and coming down. Like when he would do basically a TKO, but it's a Diamond Cutter. He did the one where the dude would come out the corner and it more looked like a bulldog. Then when he was with Goldberg, he reversed out of the jackhammer, turned him around into a Diamond Cutter where it almost looked more like a DT. And then my favorite one is when he throw the person up. When he wrestles someone smaller, he'd throw the person up and then catch him with the Diamond Cutter. He did it in so many different ways.
True.
That's just 5 of them. And I could probably, off the top of my head, do at least 10 more.
Good point. Yeah, and that one that was basically the TKO from the Fireman's Carry. I remember the first time seeing that. I was like, oh, my God. And that one they hit on Goldberg was
but he also did a great job of keeping both of his arms on the head and driving it down. I mean, like I said, I know, it's gimmicky, but it made it look more effective than the RKO.
Exactly. Very much so. Well, that is that. So we're going to move on to our top 5. This week is our top 5 submission maneuvers. And, so you have any honorable mentions? Oh, wait. Who suggested this one? Because this was a fan suggestion, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember. I just kind of did the list this morning.
Okay, so forgive us. It's, oh, God. I'm so sorry.
Was it JG?
Yes, it was JG. JG, sorry, buddy. I did not mean to mess that up. And I feel actually pretentious for saying it came from a fan. I just kind of feel dirty now.
One of our boys.
He is. He's a.
I cannot find where you put this list, so I can't read yours. But we know it, and I have seen it.
Yes. So thank you. If you have a top 5 list you'd like us to do, we're kind of running out of our own ideas, and so we're asking for folks who listen to this show to give us ideas. You can send us an email, aroundtheringok@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Twitter, Facebook. The handle on both is aroundtheringok. or we've got on the club. We need to start on our Facebook group, the club. We need to start a just tie of suggestions and like pin that sucker, and so people can keep giving us suggestions, so we always know where to go back to.
Yeah, we will get plenty of suggestions that way, so I will definitely do that.
Okay, great. So yes. So any honorable mentions?
I got 5.
All right.
Submission wrestling is like my favorite thing in the world. So
Nice.
So $1 Million Dream.
Okay.
It's more of a personal favorite because I like to do it on people. One again that looks cool and it should be used. I would love, and you'll hear me say this. I've been thinking all weekend, a week of, like when I've had submission moves, like what people I like to use. The guillotine choke, where you actually get on the person's waist and choke them out. I would like to see that more over, and I'd like to see Noam Dar do it.
Oh, that would be a good one. Yeah, that was the one Bailey used to beat Nia Jax in NXT.
Yes, it was, but I'd like to see him use more on the regular. The figure 4 leg lock, a shout out to Ric Flair, legend of all time, one of my favorite submission moves. Actually, one of the ones I hate the most because my brother used to put it on me with regularity or whatever, all the time. The Lion Tamer by Mr. Chris Jericho, the elevated Boston Crab. And understand, this is how good my top 5 list is because these are all on the honorable mentions. And the last but not least, to my boy, the Ultimo Dragon, the Dragon's.
Nice, very good. All right, so I've got 4 on my honorable mention, and one I actually just, as you were talking, I switched one of mine. My number 4 went into the honorable mentions, and an honorable mention went to number 4s now, because that's how we roll here on Around the Ring. Okay, so my honorable mentions: the Disarmer by Becky Lynch. I love that. The Koji Clutch by Sami Zayn. T.J. Perkins' knee bar, especially the one he used on Kota Ibushi in the Cruiserweight Classic. That looked brutal. Also, and the Revival does a good knee bar too. And then the Figure 4 by Ric Flair. Those are my honorable mentions. All right, you were number 5.
After the New Japan show, this became my number 5 because I saw how it could be done effective. The Kimura.
That is also my number 5. Also, after when you mentioned this, and then thinking back to the Dominion show,
it just looks so sick, but it's such a simple move. I was talking to you on very few chats we have about wrestling outside of the show. I got that move going to Gulag. I think as far as that's something that's missing on the 205 Live is just a straight submission wrestler. So him working the arm the whole match and doing a Kimura would be awesome.
I agree. All right, so what's your number 4?
My number 4 goes to a former member of the Four Horsemen, and he was what I'm looking for in the 205 Live division. He was that for the light heavyweight division in WCW, or cruiserweight division WCW, Dean Malenko's Texas Cloverleaf.
You will see that later on my list. Good choice.
I saw the elevated version on the New Japan show, and that's the only way I want it done from now on in my life.
That was so good. Oh, man. I mean,
you can put it on normally, but when you really need to put that torque in, like if you're trying to win a title or something, you've got to use that elevated version.
Agreed. My number 4 is Lex Luger's Torture Rack.
I can say, being the small one and my brother being 10 years younger than me, and all his friends, 10 years older than me, and all his friends are 10 years older than me, I have been putting this move more times than I want to count.
And does it hurt?
It can, but the jumping actually makes it not hurt.
Okay.
If someone just puts you on their back and just bends you down, that shit hurts. But when they start jumping, it actually relieves the pressure.
Oh, okay. Who else did a really good torture rack was Hercules Hernandez.
He did do a really good
job. He was, man, I always liked him. He had, I think it was WrestleMania 2, he had a match with Ricky Steamboat that is this just lost gem. It was so good. So go check that out. Hercules Hernandez, Ricky Steamboat, WrestleMania 2. You don't hear many good things about WrestleMania 2. That's one of them.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the worst things I've ever seen.
All right, what's your number?
When I go back and watch all my 30, it's the one that I'm usually doing something else when I'm watching it. I watch it, but I'm usually doing something else.
Well, I mean, you think about that show. To me, that show had 2 great matches. The tag team title match with the British Bulldogs and the Dream Team, Greg the Hammer Valentine and Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and then the Steamboat Hernandez match. Those were really the 2 things on that show worth a poop. And that was about it. All right, what's your number 3?
Number 3, Bret Hart's sharpshooter. And when I make it clear, it has to be Bret Hart's sharpshooter. When he puts the leg down and twists over, and he does it across the body. It's how he did it originally. And I guess as they gotten further along, they had to make it look more where he could you can kick out of it. But when he did it originally, it was one of those moves you really couldn't reverse. So Bret Hart's sharpshooter.
Very good. All right, my number 3 is, I put it down as a tie. It's 2 variations of basically the same move. Daniel Bryan's Yes Lock and Chris Benoit's Crippler Crossface. The Yes Lock's actually a little more brutal with the way he does his legs, because it looks like it'll pop your shoulder out. But either way, love those moves.
That leads to my number 2, the Crippler Crossface. As 2 fans of Chris Benoit, because you really, really expect anything differently. I love the whole armbar aspect of it, how he would twist your arm and then grab you, and then he would hold your arm in an arm lock and then pull back on it. I just thought it was a cool move. Like I said, it was funny. They completely got rid of it for a long time. And it was funny because it took Shawn to bring it back. Shawn Michaels was the first person to do it after Chris Benoit passed away. And it was like, what you going to do, fire me? Kind of thing. And it's one of those things. Shawn gets away with shit no one else can.
Yeah, and Triple H will bust it out from time. And so, that's I loved also he would just sometimes grab somebody's arm and put it on them out of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, in back-to-back matches, it's funny that they use that move, because in back-to-back matches, WrestleMania and then the Backlash or whatever afterwards, Chris Benoit tapped out Shawn Michaels and then Triple H.
Oh, yeah. And, I think my favorite, I may have mentioned this before, my favorite Triple H match of all time is the 60 Iron Man match he had with Benoit that was on Raw. It was after that WrestleMania. Benoit comes in as champion. I love that match. It was so good, and Benoit, won at the end. It's so good. So that was your number 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, my number 2 is Sting's Scorpion Deathlock. I am a firm believer in, I prefer the Sting version of this hold, especially early versions. Toward the end, it got kind of sad looking. He would also do where the leg was, he doesn't do it like Natty does it, where just the leg is straight under, there's no crossing of the leg, so to speak. I'm not describing this right. But if you look at the way Natty does the move, and you look at the way Sting and Bret Hart did the move, it's very different. And I much prefer. It was
more like the original Scorpion Deathlock, which came from Japan, which, of course, in Japan, they do the things that look the most difficult, that look legit. And, they do it now, this loose version of it, where, honestly, and they stand up most of the time instead of sitting down. So, honestly, if you just get up on your arms and push, they have no leverage, so they would fall over.
Right, yep. All right, so that brings us to number 1. What do you have as your number 1?
My number 1, it goes to the Human Suplex Machine, Taz, with the Taz Mission.
So what exactly? I never saw a whole ton of Taz's career. What is the Taz Mission?
Taz Mission is, he goes under your neck, and then he goes half Nelson, then he connects his hands, so you're literally choking yourself out. He's literally choking you out while having you in a half Nelson, and then he does the grapevine with the legs.
Okay, that sounds like it sucks. Okay, good.
It does.
Good call.
It was one of those moves. Like, when he did it in ECW, I think it's the most protected move in ECW. Once he got on you, you lost. when he finally lost the belt, he never got the move on.
And that's when he lost to Mike Awesome, right?
Did he? Yeah, he put Awesome over. Yeah.
Yeah. But then he came back and beat Awesome for it because he left for WWE. Mike Awesome became champion, wasn't under contract. Vince Russo was in WCW at the time, signed Mike Awesome. Mike Awesome showed up at Nitro in the crowd with the ECW belt. That was part of the arrangement. And then he dropped it to Taz, who came in as a WWE wrestler.
Taz takes the belt back from Mike Awesome in like 6 seconds. It was a real quick match. The next pay-per-view, Tommy Dreamer takes the belt off of Taz, and then in the same night, Justin Gabriel comes out. Justin Credible comes out and becomes the new ECW champion.
Yes. Oh man, speaking of poor Justin Gabriel, man, lost a finger. He needs to stop jumping off stuff.
No, he lost a finger. Justin Gabriel.
He PJ Black. He was on. He had another base jumping accident and broke legs and apparently lost a finger.
Wow,
that's jacked up.
The Darewolf, man.
Yeah, he needs to stop that. He does not have Angelico's skills of jumping off things and not dying. So we're going to need him to stop. All right, so that brings us to my number one, Dean Malenko's Texas Cloverleaf. And also Tanahashi as well. Got to put him in there. I have always loved this move. Here, one thing I think would be a really cool way of doing this, if you had someone do a spine buster and transition immediately into the Cloverleaf. I think would be a great way to finish a match, especially if you do it. You come out, you're new. If they do an angle where you're debuting, no one knows who you are. You're getting the snot beat out of you, right, by whoever, and then out of the middle of nowhere, you hit a just perfect spine buster into that Cloverleaf. Boom. I think that would be a cool sequence.
That would be a cool sequence. I think Dean always did it like a power bomb, and then straight into the Cloverleaf.
That's also another good way to do it.
Yeah. That was a good top five.
That was. So send us your suggestions, folks.
Yeah, let's see what you think of what our next week's top five should be. I think I don't know if we've done this one before, and if you listen to the show, please tell us. I would like top 5 Money in the Bank cash-ins.
Ooh, I'm actually going to have to do research on this, but that would be good.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess I think we've done it before. Let's do that. Top 5 cash-ins, and I was going to bring up one more thing, and then we can wrap up the show.
All right.
David Benoit WWE was in Edmond, and he tweeted out a picture of him in a WWE ring. And I personally have an opinion on it. I just like to let your opinion on it. I mean, let's just say he gets great. I'm talking Dean Malenko, whoever great. Do you think WWE could ever sign him?
No, never get signed.
Yeah.
He is damn near identical to his dad.
Yeah, and that was my thought process. This is what I put in the club, is that he would have to change his real name, and he would have to wrestle under a mask.
Yeah, he will. He just can't. I mean, it's cool he was able to hang out backstage, during the setup of that event. But he will, and he probably understands, too, that he is never going to get signed. And yeah, it's probably going to suck, but I'd hope he would understand why they couldn't sign him. Now, he could probably go to Japan and do well. But I don't know. He's probably going to end up just working very small indies for his entire life. Or until he decides to retire and do something else.
Yeah, go. I go to Japan and wear the Pegasus Kid mask, man.
Pegasus Kid 2. He could do it. He
could. And the way they do it there, he could just be the Pegasus Kid.
Yeah. Yeah, they could. Very
I'm
much.
glad they haven't blackballed him, period. I'm glad they allow him to I'm glad they allow him to show up to shows and things like that, because him posting that on Twitter have caused a big backlash if they wanted to.
Yeah, well, it's not his fault his dad ended up murdering his mom and his brother.
Of course not, but he looks like him, and his last name's Benoit. I'm talking financial, WWE side, stock prices, you're a publicly traded company, he can't be anything involved with it.
Yeah, and luckily we're far enough removed from that at this point that a single picture on isn't going to hurt.
Yeah, and that's why, like, if he comes out, unfortunately, and like completely renounces his dad, says, I'm not even going by that name, I'm gonna go by David and go by his mom's last name, like legally changes his name, and then wrestles under a mask, I think he'd be fine.
But who knows if he's even any good? I mean,
but that's what I said. That was why my disclaimer, my precursor was, if he gets Dean Malenko good, or I put how good he had to be.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for this week of Around the Ring and the 100th episode. We thank everyone for joining us, and we will be back tomorrow with a review of tonight's Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Hopefully it's going to be a good show. I think on paper, just from looking at it should be pretty entertaining. And here's something to stew on, and we can talk about this later. In this new network era, with the brand split and with as many pay-per-views as there are, is it really possible to just watch the pay-per-views and still follow along with what WWE is doing?
In a really quick answer, and we'll elaborate it on the next week. Absolutely.
I'm right there with you. We'll talk about next time. So, Floyd, I have a question for you. These are things that I think about at night when I can't sleep and it's dark and I'm scared. Is life a work?
Man, after pondering, I've realized life is a work, and I realized the most important thing is you remember to count out, remember to kick out at 2. So we'll see you next time around the ring.
Drummer get wicked.